Welcome to the Decluttering Club podcast, episode number 3, Decluttering Do's and Don'ts. All right, I thought it'd be really fun to give you just a really quick list of 10 things to do and 10 things not to do as you are decluttering. My job is to give you actionable, practical help as you're going about this, right? We want to make it so that you can be equipped to let the things go that are in your way, that are standing in the way of the things that matter most to you. So that's what this episode is all about, right? 10 really simple things to keep in mind as you are going through the process of decluttering. All right, so let's start with all of the don'ts, all the things that you don't want to do as you are decluttering. All right, number 1, do not save everything. You can't do it. You cannot save, quote unquote, everything. If you're trying to save everything, if you're just trying to get organized, but there's things in the way that your spaces are full, this is not a good thing. This is not a recipe for success. So this is the Decluttering Club podcast, and I am going to tell you to let some things go. Now, if you love all your things, then no problem, no worries. I'm not going to judge you. But this isn't the podcast for you if you don't want to let things go. Now, I can help you, and I'm not saying it's easy, but don't try to save everything. I promise you it will not end well. Okay? Number 2, I don't want you to ignore the problem. Now, if you have a lot of clutter, it can feel really awful. And you may have ignored the problem for a long time, or maybe you're not ignoring it, but you're like, it's not the right time. We will do this later. I'll worry about that when it's summertime, when the kids are older, when I feel better, whatever it is. I'm telling you that the time to declutter is now, and I don't care how busy life is. I want you to find 10 minutes to put these tips into action and to find something that you can let go of today. Do not ignore it and do not push it off, because eventually, sooner or later, you're not going to be able to push it off. And when that happens, you are going to be in so much less control. Right? If you are forced to declutter because of a move or a flood or some other reason, typically you lose options, right? And then you have less time and you have to rush, and it feels so much worse. And people always say to me, gosh, I wish I had done this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? And we can't go back in time, but we do have control over today. So I want to encourage you to tackle the problem starting today and don't put it off. Okay, number 3, I don't want you to make your clutter mean anything about you. You have a messy kitchen, you have a messy garage, whatever it is, it doesn't mean anything about you. Okay, there is your stuff and there is you. And these are 2 separate things, and we don't necessarily know this automatically. We feel like we are our things, or our things are a reflection on us. And what I want you to know is you're not your stuff. And I don't care what your kitchen looks like. I don't care what your house looks like. It's not you. And it doesn't mean that you are any less worthy or valuable as a human being than anybody else. So hear me when I say you are not your stuff, right? It's just stuff, and we can deal with it. Stick around. Okay. Number 4, I don't want you to get in over your head. Now, what do I mean by this? This looks like saying, okay, I'm going to declutter my closet. And then you unload the whole closet onto the bed and the bedroom floor. And you get partway in and you think, oh my goodness, this is a terrible mistake. What have I done here? And then you want to, run out of the room and close the door and never look at it again. That's getting in over your head. This is a method, this is a thing. If you are, let's say, working with a different decluttering method, that might be how they do things. We just don't like to do that around here. It's just not my style. I would much rather do things in small incremental pieces where we can, take it at our own pace and, where it's manageable. We don't like to dive in and try to do everything, whatever that means, all at once, right? We would like to pace ourselves. We like to have a plan, and we don't just want to, empty out closets and cupboards and then try and like make sense of it. So I highly recommend, especially if this is, if you're not very experienced in this, that you take it step by step. Okay. Number 5, don't forget to ask for help. Like seriously, who can help? Maybe it's someone who can be moral support for you and can encourage you. Maybe you're in our community. Reach out to our community and say, you guys, I'm doing something really tough here. I need some moral support. Or maybe you don't need necessarily the moral support, or you don't have a good option there, but maybe you could use some physical support. Maybe someone can move boxes for you. Maybe someone can take a trip to the thrift store. Maybe someone can give you some suggestions on where to sell something. Like, reach out and ask for help. And the more specific you can be about what you need, the better and the more likely you are to get that help. So don't try to do this alone. You don't have to do it alone. I promise you don't. Okay. Number 6, don't overdo it. Pace yourself. You have to pace yourself. So often when people see a little bit of success with decluttering, then they feel like they can't stop, right? Or maybe you're on a roll and you've been going, it's been an hour and you're like, wow, this is really great. And you keep going and all of a sudden it's been 5 hours. And then you're exhausted and you've overdone it and you've burnt yourself out. We much prefer to do what I call quitting while you're ahead. So, do 10 minutes or do an hour, maybe you do 2, but stop, finish that session before you are at your wit's end, before you have burned out. And why? Why is this important? This is important because if you push yourself, then what's going to happen the next time you go to declutter or clean something up? Well, you're probably not going to want to do it. And sooner or later, your body is going to tell you, no way, no how, I'm not going to do it. And that's called burnout, right? That's where we're like, I'm just not going to get off this couch and do that. It doesn't matter how easy it is, right? Because we've pushed ourselves so hard in the past. So I don't want you to overdo it. I don't want you to push yourself so hard. I want you to instead learn how to do a manageable amount, whatever that looks like for you, and stop. And then come back the next day or the next time and do another session and then stop. And over time, you'll build confidence and you'll be able to trust yourself that you can stop when you want to stop and that you will then start again when you want to start again. This is such a beautiful thing. And this is something that people don't realize is, something to practice. Highly encourage quitting while you're ahead. Don't overdo it, and stop when you plan to stop. All right. Number 7, regrets. Don't regret things. Or if you do regret something, let's say you let go of something, you get rid of something, and then you decide, oh dear, that was a mistake. I needed that, or I wanted that, or whatever it is, right? We think that when we do what we consider to be making a mistake, we wish we hadn't declared that thing. We think that means we've done something wrong. We think, oh my gosh, never again. I tried that decluttering business and, I screwed up. And so it's just not for me. I've tried it. Or maybe you think, I tried it. I made a huge mess. It didn't last. I cleaned up and it didn't last. I'm not going to do that again. No, don't make it mean that. It doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It just means maybe you need some more practice. Or maybe you just didn't know. Like, how could you have known that you were going to want that extra whatever it was? How could you have known that your kid was going to ask for that thing the next day? You don't, right? Like, we're human beings and we cannot know the future. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is no way to predict the future. So let's stop trying to. And instead, let's just remember we're doing the best we can here. And that's going to mean that sometimes we change our minds later. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that we did something wrong. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep trying. We're going to get better at this as time goes on. And there probably are going to be a few things that you wish you had kept. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you did it wrong. And you should keep going because the benefits I promise you, will far outweigh the regrets and the disadvantages and the downsides. So keep that in mind. Now, we do, as human beings, our brains do not like to feel regret, and we don't like to feel like we've made a mistake. But I'm telling you, if you keep everything and if you just swear off decluttering, that is a much bigger mistake. So keep that in mind. And when your brain tries to tell you, oh dear, we screwed up here, we're not going to do this, just remind yourself, hey, it's okay. I just decided, I changed my mind, or I didn't know. Totally fine, and I'm going to keep going. All right, number 8. I don't want you to think that there's a wrong way to do this. So many people, especially when they started, they think, well, where's the best place to do this? Where should I start? Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Is this okay? Let me tell you, you cannot do this wrong. It's impossible. If you are letting things go, you will win. You will succeed if you keep at it long enough. Now, obviously, you can get better at it and you can get faster at it. But in general, you just need to keep going. Right? And there's not a perfect way to do this. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. It's not always going to go well. But you're going to learn, you're going to make space, you're going to free things up. And that's going to be a win over time. So just don't think that that you're doing it wrong. I promise you're not doing it wrong. Okay? Number 9, do not shuffle things around. How often have you found yourself doing this? You think you're decluttering, but really you're just moving things from here to here, right? From left to right, or you're trying to rearrange your clutter. This is not decluttering, and this is not going to solve the problem of too much stuff. Okay, so if you notice, I'm just rearranging, I'm just shuffling, right? Or maybe you're stashing things away. That's not decluttering. That doesn't solve any problems. In fact, it probably creates more problems. So if you notice yourself doing this, I want you to pause. And the next time you try to you go to put something away, instead of just setting it aside, I want you to think, can I get rid of this? Literally, is there a good reason to let this go? Right? And if the answer is no, okay, no problem. Let's find an actual home for it. Let's not just set it, on another surface because we can't decide, right? We just have to decide. Pick a spot, try it out, and see if you like that. Live with that thing in that place for a week or two and see if that works, okay? Shuffling things around is a really easy way to waste a whole lot of time, and you do not want to do that. All right, especially when you're first starting out, your goal is not to be putting a lot of things away. Your goal is to be getting things out of your house, letting things go, right? And really, I would tell you, you don't even have to do any organizing early on because we want to get stuff out of the house, right? If you can get rid of 10%, 20%, 50%, even more of the things in your spaces, guess what? So much easier to handle what is left. But you got to get rid of things first, and then you can organize what's left. Okay. Number 10 on the don't list. Do not quit. If you keep going, you will have success. I promise you. All you have to do is keep going and don't quit. Pace yourself, yes, but do not give up. Do not quit. Because success is available to you, and all you have to do is keep going. Okay, those are the don'ts. Now we're going to get to the do's, to the good stuff. Okay, number 1, do make a plan. This can be 5 minutes with a piece of paper and a pencil, and you jotting down, what am I going to do? We talked about this in the first couple episodes. Decide where you're going to work. What are you going to do with the things that you let go of? Right? Have that decided in advance. How long are you going to work? What are potential obstacles that come up? If you're in the Organize My Home membership, we do have a worksheet and a training on planning, right? So you can go through that and make a plan. The more you have a plan, the better you plan, the easier the work is going to be. But don't just, kind of wing it. I really don't recommend that. It does not work out well. Okay. Number 2, do keep it focused. Keep it limited, right? Again, don't make this open-ended. Don't think I'm going to declutter, I'm going to just kind of walk around my house and look for things to get rid of. I mean, you could do that, But that's going to be so hit or miss. And you may actually end up with a bigger mess than you started if you take that tactic. But if you decide where you're going to work and how long, you're going to have so much more potential for success. Okay. Number 3, and this is kind of related to number 2, but number 3 is stay in one room at a time, right? Stay in that room. Do not leave the room and bounce around. Before you know it, you'll have started 10 things and finished 0. Just stay in one place. This could take practice, right? It really can. And so if you discover, wow, I'm across the house and I don't even know how that happened, no worries. You just try again, right? A lot of people will like to put, let's say, like a laundry basket in the doorway of the room they're working on. So that way it's like a physical reminder, hey, I'm not leaving this room right now, right? If you go to leave the room, kind of unconsciously on autopilot, you actually run into the basket and you think, oh, that's right, I'm staying here. The basket can also be helpful because you can put things in that basket that do not belong in the room. You don't have to go put them away right away. So set them in the basket and then keep working in your room. And then when you're ready to leave and you're ready to finish up, now you take the basket with you, you put things away, you take out the trash, etc., etc. Okay, so stay in one place at a time. You will get so much more done if you focus. I promise you. Number 4, I love this one. This is a good one. Be ruthless. Be ruthless in your decluttering. If you have a lot of things, you really want to challenge yourself. You really want to stretch yourself. Now, you don't want to stretch yourself so far that you snap back and, you go into overwhelm and burnout. But I do want to encourage you to stretch yourself, right? Ask yourself, can I do a little bit more? Maybe you can get rid of something that you're a little bit on the fence about. Can you let a little bit more go? Right? If you are looking at a lifetime of things that you have collected, now is a great time to let some things go. So if you're like a maybe on something, can I get rid of this? Yeah, maybe I could. Perfect. I love it. Let's let it go. Let's get it out of the house. I promise you, life is going to be better. And you might miss it, but also you're going to gain so much more by freeing up that space. Right? You will gain in terms of physical space, but also that mental load is going to be lighter as you are letting things go. So be ruthless. You can do it. All right, number 5, find the quick wins first. Can't say this often enough. There are things in your house and you don't even know that they're there. You're going to be so surprised when you open those cupboards and look in those closets. You're going to be like, where did this come from? I didn't know we had this in here. Like, what is happening here? So you want to find those easy wins first. For some of you, that might just be trash. Maybe you have something broken. You've been meaning to get to fix it. Well, maybe this is a great time to let that thing go. Or maybe it's just, it's actual trash that you haven't spent time removing from your house. Okay? So look for the quick wins. What are the things that you're not attached to? When I say decluttering, people's minds immediately go to, oh my goodness, to the hardest things of the hard. I could never get rid of, the baby book. I could never get rid of the china or the wedding dress. Okay. Nobody's telling you to get rid of the wedding dress. Why don't we find some things that you're not attached to? I promise you, there's all kinds of things that you're not attached to that you're going to be willing to let go of. So just take a look and see what those are. We'll make some space. We'll free up some space. We'll build those decluttering muscles, and we'll build some momentum. We can get to the hard stuff later, but let's start with the easy stuff. All right, number 6. I want you to find ways to make this fun. Did you know that decluttering could actually be fun? It really can. I promise you it can. So this could look like playing some fun music. Maybe you reward yourself when you're done with some kind of an outing or a treat or, an extra, Netflix show. Something fun to be a reward. You could make it into a game by keeping score, right? Maybe you're just counting the things that are leaving your house. Maybe you're looking for 10 things every day, or, maybe you want to get rid of more today than you did yesterday. How can you make it into a game so that it's fun? We like to play games. When things are fun, we're going to be more willing to do it. Doesn't have to be torture. You can make it fun. All right, number 7. I want you to look for ways to make this meaningful. So often, if you have something that is very special to you that you do want to declutter, you can find a good home for that thing. It might take a little bit extra work, but it might be the difference for you between holding something and letting it take up space in your house and in your head and, letting it go. So maybe this looks like, maybe you have some craft supplies. So maybe you find, a preschool that would be thrilled to have your craft supplies, right? And that goes from that will take that task from being something that's very hard to do and you feel like, oh my gosh, I really want to let go of these things, but it's so hard, right? All of a sudden, you're going to get excited and you're going to think, wow, like these little kids are going to have a blast using this stuff that I really can't get to. And they're going to be so grateful and it's going to be so much fun, right? Or maybe it's, donating things to, a woman's shelter or an adult daycare or who knows, just someone who needs it. When we give out of abundance and when we find someone who can enjoy our stuff, it will make it so much more meaningful to you. And you may be very moved by giving that important special thing to someone who's going to enjoy it and love it and be able to use it when, you haven't been able to. So this is a really, really wonderful way to declutter. And again, it takes a little extra work. If you're short on time or energy, you might not want to go that route, but it can really help for those things that you have decided. Yes, you want to let them go, but also they're a little harder than the average thing. All right, number 8, I want you to keep it social. Decluttering is fun with friends. This can make all the difference to you. First of all, when you declutter with friends, and they have to be the right friends, don't make this friends that are going to criticize everything or friends that just want to take all your stuff home, right? But friends who can support you. When you declutter with friends, then it will literally bring the anxiety level down because your brain wants to know, is this a safe thing to do? If other people are doing it, then actually your brain will kind of relax. Right? And you'll hear from other people oh, how are they making their decisions? Or maybe they let go of something and then that inspires you to let go of that thing. When things are social, they're so much easier to do. So I highly recommend you decluttering with friends, right? We do this in our membership all the time, but if you're not in the membership, find a buddy, right? And see if that doesn't help. Okay, number 9, do take before photos. Photos are so important. And a lot of times people don't want to take the before photos because they feel like, oh my gosh, they feel so awful. If I take a photo, it's real and it's messy and I don't like to look at it. But the thing is, the before photos are like a gift to your future self. When you have that space cleaned up, you're not going to remember what it used to look like. It's going to become normal to you. And that might be hard to imagine right now, but it is absolutely the case. And when you have those before photos, they can be motivation for you when you're working on other spaces. It is so much fun to look at before and after. You don't have to show those photos to anybody, put them on your phone, put them in a folder if you like, and don't worry about them. You don't have to look at them. You don't have to share them. But the thing is, you can't recreate them later. So it is a wonderful thing. And again, it's a gift to your future self when you take those before photos. You could spend 10 minutes, walk around the entire house and just take 100 photos of all kinds of different areas. And don't forget behind closed doors, right? In cupboards and drawers. Just take a whole bunch of photos and then you will have them as you work through your house and as you're cleaning things up. It is such a wonderful thing to have those. So don't miss out on that. All right, and number 10, do celebrate your wins along the way. Celebrate your wins. You can celebrate every single day. Did you get rid of one thing? Amazing. Did you do 10 minutes? I love it. That's fantastic. Right? We want to celebrate along the way so that we gain momentum, we build confidence, and we can enjoy ourselves. You don't have to wait until a room or a space is done to enjoy your progress. In fact, you really shouldn't. Because if you're waiting to enjoy and to celebrate, you're probably never going to get there, right? You're gonna finish the kitchen. You're gonna think, well, the bedroom needs work, so I really can't celebrate yet, right? And then you're constantly chasing this finish line that keeps moving. So we want to celebrate every single day, and we want to let those little wins stack up. Did you know that your brain doesn't really care? Your brain will view a small win almost as much, it will enjoy that small win almost as much as a big one, right? And so we have to let the little wins stack up. Otherwise, we're never going to want to do it, right? You have to acknowledge your progress along the way to the destination. This will make a really big difference. And it feels a little bit like weird at first. If you're not used to doing this, you might feel a little bit silly. Why am I celebrating? Why am I acknowledging my wins here when there's so much left to do? But again, I'm telling you, you have to acknowledge that progress along the way, right? Those are the baby steps that add up to big progress. So please do celebrate your wins along the way. All right, so those are the 10 do's and don'ts of decluttering. Let me know what you think about this. I'd love to hear. And when you're ready, come on and join us in the Organize My Home membership. We have all the tools and all of the support and the help so that you can be equipped to let go of the clutter in your lives, in your homes, and make room to cherish what really matters most to you. All right, that's what I have for you this week. I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.